Elastic band on. Just attach it to the collar.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 On va lire en anglais alors. So we'll be reading in English. Try. So we continue Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita the day after Govardhan Puja Ki.
Yeah.
So we are now in India with Srila Prabhupada. First time he went back with some disciples. You know. Srila Prabhupada's intention in coming to Calcutta was simply to prepare to live. Can you switch on the light?
C'est quoi le contexte?
D'accord, le contexte. Donc la semaine dernière. So sorry. The context is that Srila Prabhupada came back. This is 1967. And Prabhupada has been living in America because of his heart attack, and he went back on the pretext of recuperating health. And I'm not sure if it's the first one or second time to India, actually. I'm not sure at all. But we have the dates.
Now he's in India in his first visit.
First or second, I'm not sure actually.
Which chapter?
India Revisited Part 1. And it's, they speak about the dead, July 24th, but they don't mention you know, it seems like really the first time he went back anyway. So now he's in Calcutta, and he has been received, last week we read how he's been received by his godbrothers from the Gaudiya Math. And now he's gonna do some more visits of his relatives, and yeah, some relatives now, I believe. Srila Prabhupada's intention in coming to Calcutta was simply to prepare to leave for America. He had his visitor's visa already, but he thought that if he stayed in India a little longer in San Francisco, Mukunda might be able to secure a permanent American residency for him. He went to his sister's house to spend his last days in Calcutta there. It was the name of his sister? Vishima. So he went to his sister's house. But after only a few days, he felt that the Radha Govinda deity, the deity he had worshipped in his childhood, was calling him. When Prabhupada had been no more than an infant, his servant used to take him and his cousin, Subudhi Mulik, on a perambulator, wheel them into the temple courtyard. Qui c'est qui parle pas l'anglais? Doesn't speak. Qui c'est qui parle pas l'anglais du tout, du tout? Tu peux t'asseoir à côté de lui peut-être pour traduire un peu. Il y a juste lui qui... C'est plus simple.
You have to explain what a perambulator is.
I was going to ask you the question. What is a perambulator? We take him and his cousin Subudhi Mulik on a perambulator. Wheel them into the temple courtyard. No idea, some kind of...
So the two babies.
think some, yeah. Okay, thing of with wheels anyway. When Prabhupada had been no more than an infant, his servant used to take him and his cousin Subudhi Mulik on a perambulator, wheel them into the temple courtyard, and take them before the altar of Radha Govinda. And as soon as Prabhupada could walk, so that was before he could walk, his father would hold his hand and take him before the deity every day. Sometimes Prabhupada would go alone and stand for hours gazing upon Radha and Krishna, who appeared very beautiful to him with their slanted eyes and fine dress and ornaments. It had been for the pleasure of Radha Govinda that as a child, beginning at the age of 5, he had performed his miniature Ratha Yatra festival. So it's quite astonishing that a small child can stay for hours standing in front of the deities and stare at the deities, gaze at the deities for hours. Can you imagine? If you enter the temple room here and you see a child, 5-year-old child, he's gazing at the deities, and you come back after 2 hours, he's still sitting in front of the deities, gazing at the deities. So that was Prabhupada mentioned in the Bhagavatam. Actually, in the Bhagavad Gita, and this verse which says that one who has not completed his spiritual life comes back takes birth again in an aristocratic family or a family of spirit transcendentalists and goes on. And Prabhupada very humbly puts himself into this category actually. Says that it's a very great privilege to take birth in a family of transcendentalists because then you are already into the atmosphere. Not everybody has got deities at home. Normally you have either the TV or the deities. It's not the deities, it's the TV. So some have both. But to have the deities at home, parents who worship the deities, Prabhupada would speak of his father that he would come from business, he would be a cloth merchant, and he would come back from home, he would come back from his shop, and he would do puja for like few hours every day. Ding, 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 like we can hear now. He would worship his deities, Radha Govinda. And Prabhupada grew up in this atmosphere, pure devotee, father. You can imagine when someone spends hours worshipping Krishna at home, it's not for a show. He's alone with Krishna. So he's worshipping Krishna. And his small son, Abhay Charan, could see this. He even asked his father if he could have deities, Radha Krishna deities. His father, I think, gave him Radha Krishna deities when he was a child. And he asked also for, as it's mentioned here, Ratha Yatra cart. So his father arranged a Ratha Yatra cart, and then it was a big affair, Prabhupada said, according to the child's vision. He would take the small cart, and roll it into the neighborhood, distribute sweets. So Prabhupada organized Ratha Yatra when he was few years old. So now we are in this atmosphere. He's coming back after so many years. Remember, he took sannyas, so we guess that when he was sannyas, or even vanaprastha, before he left India to go to America, he also left his family, so it must have been at least 10 years. He's not been back. And he's been in the West for 2 years, 3 years, and now he's coming back. But he's not coming back alone, he's coming with some white elephants. Just 2 weeks ago, when Prabhupada had been staying at his sister's house, his health had prevented him from going to North Calcutta to see the deity. So he had gone to Navadvip without taking their blessings. But now, although still weak, and although preoccupied with traveling to the US, he felt that the deity was calling him. For the past 150 years, the Radha Govinda temple had been maintained by the aristocratic Muliks, a branch of Prabhupada's own family. The Muliks had owned the entire block on Harrison Road, now Mahatma Gandhi Road, and rents from the block-long building opposite to temple had financed the opulent worship of Radha Govinda. In those days, the deities had been worshipped on a gorgeous altar in the large Kirtan hall, and they had been dressed in silks and ornamented with gilded and bejeweled crowns and necklaces, All the pious Vaishnava families of the neighborhood would visit, and on Janmashtami, Krishna's birthday, even British gentlemen and ladies would come. But today, the Maulik family possessed only remnants of the European art and furnishing that had once filled their homes and temple, relics from an age of former grandeur, and the worship of Radha Govinda had pitifully deteriorated. Srila Prabhupada was pained to see the neglect. No longer were Radha and Govinda the center of the Maulik's lives. The deity worship still continued, conducted by paid brahmanas, but few people came to see. The main attraction now was the golden deity of the goddess Kali on the large altar in the Kirtan hall. Radha and Govinda, in the family for many generations, had been relegated to a small upstairs room in the Maulik compound. Their dress was no longer elegant. Their valuable crowns and ornaments had disappeared, and there were no large kirtans as before. Only a paid brahmana came in the morning to rub sandalwood pulp on their shining bodies, dress them carefully in whatever simple clothes remained, and place jasmine garlands around their necks, while a widow or two watched the silent proceedings. Krishna consciousness was dying in India, dying from neglect. At least it was dying here in Calcutta, and in many other places in India, even in Vrindavan, the impersonal philosophy prevailed, and grand old temples had become residences for pigeons, monkeys, and dogs. Sad as it was, it only reinforced Prabhupada's conviction of the need to return to the fertile ground in the West. Although here in India the spirit of devotion was dying, in the West it was just beginning to grow. In New York, San Francisco, Montreal, Boston. If pure Krishna consciousness were dying in India, then why shouldn't it be transplanted in the fertile West? There it would flourish. It would spread worldwide and even back to India again. When India bent on following the West, so the materially advanced Americans taking to Krishna consciousness, she would re-evaluate her own culture. Prabhupada said also in Vrindavan many temples had been neglected like this, the deities. Prabhupada said that in along with the puja you have to have Bhagavad Gita, you have to have Krishna Katha. If this goes down, then the deities' worship becomes just a burden. He said even that if you neglect, he told the disciples that if you neglect the principles, and in the future you will curse this old man that left you this burden of the deities. So life actually comes mostly in this age of Kali. The main trail is Bhagavad Vidhi, but we also need, of course, Panchayatrika Vidhi. Why do we need Panchayatrika Vidhi? Any suggestion? Why do we need if holy name is enough? If Krishna Katha is so powerful in the age of Kali, why do we need Panchayatrika Vidhi? Yes.
I think it's because I'm not pure.
Mm-hmm.
It's to bring us to goodness.
Yeah, that's the main point actually. Any other idea? So he said that to keep us pure because we are not in the mode of goodness. Anything else? Any other reason why? Okay. Because also Prabhupada said that we should worship the deities in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. Although we dress them with flowers, Krishna has a flute, peacock feather. But we should dress them we should be very respectful, not that we enter with a stick, Krishna, have you eaten? No, we are very worship, we use mantras, not so many mantras like they do in India, especially in South India, but still we use mantras, and we have to be always very clean. We have to, if we tell our parents who knew us before that today, sometime by 12 o'clock we have taken already 3 showers. You have this experience. I mean, if your mother comes, and it's 12 o'clock and you say since this morning I took 3 showers, she will think it's really something wrong in this Hare Krishna movement. No? You would take showers, once in a
week.
While. Grand toilet. I don't know what you're saying.
Also is the target is also to regulate so that we become organized to do the same thing every day.
Yes.
Because it's not a custom in the West to do the same thing always.
Yeah, to regulate. That comes to the also along with the mode of goodness, yes, Prabhuji.
To engage all the senses.
Yeah, to engage all the senses. What is this verse? Maharaj Ambarish, Save Mana Krishna Padaragunde, Vachamsi Vaikunta Gunan Ramane Karor Mandile, Marchana Disho, etc. That washing the clean, he would use his hands to clean the temple. Many items in this verse regarding Ambarish Maharaj are related to the deities. He would smell the incense offered to the flowers offered to the deities. He would wash the temples. He would see the deities. You want to see something beautiful, so just see the deities. You get engaged at the deities. Yeah. So basically, to keep us pure. Mataji, I wanted to say. To see Krishna as the person, as a person. Yeah, of course. Yeah, actually, I think you said that to avoid us to become sajas, you saw, I mean, if the deities were not here in Mayapur, I don't think anybody of us would be here. Even, if we say, this is a center for chanting Hare Krishna, we saw, for 3 weeks or more even, it was closed. The curtains were closed, because they were repenting the deities' eyes. And anybody has been here around that time, it was really different. No? So Prabhupada, from the beginning, he could see Krishna in the deities. And I think he said this to one disciple in Krishna Balaram Mandir. There was a man sitting all day in front of deities of Krishna Balaram, and Prabhupada told his disciple, you see only statues, you can see Krishna Balaram. Yeah.
There's an idea that spiritual life is something internal, and it's not external. But this is a wrong idea. It's both internal and external.
Yeah.
And when you come into a house or a building and you see the altar and Krishna, you can see immediately who's the center here.
Yeah.
Who's the boss.
Yeah. So Gopal Prabhu says that we have the wrong idea, wrong concept many times that spiritual life means internal and nothing external. We should have, when you speak about meditation, there is always a lady, young lady, sitting like this, like this. So this is spiritual life for the people, of course, because Prabhupada says this is if the temples in Vrindavan or in Calcutta, they decline because of impersonal philosophy prevailed. So yes, to avoid us to remain, I could say, impersonalists. Well, actually, I remember when the first time I started to go on the altar, and the first time I dressed the deities, and put all these jewels. It's plastic. Of course, Prabhupada said we should not use gold and silver because it will attract thieves. So we put plastics, and now by Governor Prabhu's grace, we have beautiful pearls, real pearls. But and I remember that first time, after I think the same day, I went outside on Sankirtan, and I was on a parking lot. I approached a lady. She had the same kind of necklaces, and I found it so strange. I thought this should be on the deities. I addressed the deities in the morning. I saw the same kind of big jewels. But I thought that's the wrong place. So it puts things into place actually. Yeah. So Prabhupada developed this And we see that even though in our branch, in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, yes, the holy name Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Kevalam is the only way. There is no other way. But as all of you said, we need, and that's not a need, but the Goswamis, the 6 Goswamis, they didn't need to remain pure. They didn't need deities, but they all had their own deities. Rupa Goswami. Okay, let's try to remember Rupa Goswami's deity. So Radha Govinda. Okay, Sanatan Goswami. Madan Mohan. Okay, I have to remember the 6 Goswamis first. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Gopal Bhatta. Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Radharaman. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. I'm not sure if he had deities. I think Raghunath Bhatta Goswami had no deities. His deity was Srimad Bhagavatam. He would worship Srimad Bhagavatam. He could recite Srimad Bhagavatam in 6 kind of different meters, melodies, and Raghunath Das Goswami. I mean, at least most of them, they are deities. And even actually, Rupa Goswami carved the deity, Radha Damodar, he gave to Jiva Goswami. So actually, Rupa Goswami carved the deity himself and gave it as a gift, gave him as a gift to Jiva Goswami. So that's an important point, and we see how Prabhupada kept this relation with his deity.
So you're making the point about how we can, the deity worship, and it's important. There's a 7th canto, there's a shloka which says that the sages saw that when the Kali Yuga, from Treta we are going to Kali Yuga, right? The shloka explains, I'll try to find the shloka. I mean, it has got more deeper meaning than what I'm going to say. That when the sages saw that during beginning of Kali Yuga, devotees or in general people didn't know how to relate with each other, how they were not respectful with each other, the deity worship was introduced. The 7th canto, the Keshav Maharaj quoted in a class. I made a note of it somewhere. I have to find it. So it's kind of like deities also push us to become Madhyamadhikari, basically. That's the idea there, that we have to relate to the devotees also. That is only done through deities. This is an amazing point that this shloka kind of brings out. I can find the shloka there.
It was introduced because in every age there is a process.
Yeah.
Deity worship was the process in Treta Yuga, yeah. Treta Yuga.
But it kind of got prominent for Kali Yuga also because the sages thought that we were not ready to treat each other nicely or not in a Krishna conscious way. So basically the essence of the shloka says that we have to become Madhyamadhikari by serving the deities. That means in relation to other devotees also.
The deities, their worship keeps us busy. I think temple presidents can relate to this. Head pujaris, that's the main service, main focus, to find cooks and pujaris. Of course, it should not be to the, it should be not to the extent that we don't actually, we stop preaching, but I think we can do both. So let's go on. If pure Krishna consciousness were dying in India, then why shouldn't it be transplanted in the fertile West? There it would flourish, it would spread worldwide and even back to India. When India, okay, I read this. Prabhupada saw a Krishna conscious revolution beginning in the United States. He didn't consider himself its creator. He was the servant of Krishna consciousness. Lord Chaitanya's desire was that every Indian help to spread Krishna consciousness worldwide. Unfortunately, the very verses in the scriptures that prophesied a worldwide Krishna consciousness movement were a puzzle even to most of Srila Prabhupada's God brothers. They admitted it. They couldn't figure out this verse in every town and village. They thought it was like a metaphor or something, they couldn't relate to it. Prabhupada one time he was sitting in the Keshava Gaudiya mat where he took sannyas, and he was taking prasadam with a God brother, and a man picked up in the room, you know, and a gentleman, you know, and he looked like this, and he left. And Prabhupada told his god brother, that was much before, he saw just two poor sadhus, one poor sadhu taking prasadam on the floor, but he doesn't know what will this man accomplish for Lord Chaitanya. It's like he knew already. But they couldn't understand. I think also Prabhupada mentioned, a pastime where there was a lecture on the roof. I think it was in his home actually. He would receive the devotees on the Beremat, and they had a lecture on the roof. And one devotee lectured on this verse, mentioned this verse, every town and village. And Prabhupada was chanting his rounds in the stairs, because his wife was not very favorable, so he had to find a shelter somewhere. Chanted his rounds in the stairs. And one devotee came down from the class, he mentioned this verse. Prabhupada said yes. And Prabhupada told him, it will happen, somebody will do it. And that devotee was going down. Prabhupada added, but not you. So Krishna consciousness, the West was a fertile ground. We remember, actually we see how Krishna made all arrangements for Prabhupada, you know, and it's a very specific time. I don't know if he had come now, and you know, or even you could say his god brothers who went to London, you know, maybe they did their best. You know, they did their best. You know, we cannot criticize them that, but you know, they maybe went to the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, the gentlemen and ladies in England, you know, trying to preach to these people. You know, these poor Indians coming. They attracted a few, but Prabhupada went to the Bowery. You know, all the youth wanted to go to India. You know, searching for a guru. How could time be more favorable, you know? So it's Krishna's arrangement still. Of course, Prabhupada did something incredible, sitting alone in a park and chanting for hours the Maha Mantra. And that's how we started. But soon they would see there was great potential in the West. Prabhupada had shown many of his god brothers the newspapers articles, Swami's flock, ancient trance dance at Stanford University, and he had brought some disciples with him. These were only beginnings, much more had to be done. And who would help? B.P. Keshava Maharaj was dying. That was the one who gave sannyas to Prabhupada. Sridhar Maharaj couldn't come out. Who else? Most Indians were impersonalists, non-devotional yogis or demigod worshippers. As Srila Prabhupada stood before the Radha Govinda deity, explaining to Achyutananda and Ramanuja how he had worshipped them in his childhood and how they had been in his first inspiration in Krishna consciousness, he understood deeply that he must take Krishna consciousness all over the world, even if single-handedly. Of course, he was not alone, he had disciples, and they were opening new centers even in his absence. He would have to return to them very soon and supervise his growing movement. We can see also why Prabhupada had so much success. First of all, he tried. He tried. You know, if you don't try, then I have a paper, but I lost my paper as usual. I took note, but Krishna is, no, I have them here. It's from a class by Keshava Maharaj, again. You know, how to overcome mediocrity. You know, I mean, to be a devotee is never mediocre, but to not accomplish the mission of one's guru is, you could say in one sense, is not so nice. Even if you are, you know, you made it, you know, with your mind and with your, you know, you could finish your rounds every day, which is nice. You know, there was a devotee who said he was in LA during Prabhupada's time, and the temple room was packed with devotees. And Prabhupada said on the Vyasasan, he said, if you simply chant 16 rounds daily, follow the 4 regulative principles, you will go back to God. And at that time, the devotee thought, yeah, okay, what's extraordinary about that, you know? And he said many years later, he sat in the same temple room, you know, with only 2 or 3 devotees. So we realized that this is something. So all glories to the devotees, you know, who every day, don't give up, you know. But still, it's taken from Mahabharata, from Bhishma Parva, and Bhishma Dev is explaining 5 points to overcome mediocrity. So the first one is to overcome laziness. Because if you're lazy, if you don't get up in the morning, nothing will be accomplished. And he quotes the example of Messi. You heard about Messi, footballer. That he said that statistics were made that in a full match, he touches the ball about 1.5 minutes only. Statistics, you know, in 90 minutes match. But he works so hard in between runs, you know, here and there, you know, it's like, you know, falls on the floor and on the ground. But, you know, he's putting hard work, and for this 1.5 minutes of success, you know, of course, this is like the iceberg, you know, we see Prabhupada's success. But if you read a lifetime of preparation, we will see that Prabhupada prepared he did so much, and not only before coming to the West, but of course afterwards, you know. We don't see how many times he went to lectures. It's quite inspiring actually when not only successes, but to see Prabhupada's determination. You know, he gave sometimes lectures in big halls in front of 5 or 6 people. And he would do like if there was plenty of people. So first, overcome laziness. Second thing, to overcome mediocrity, say overcome comfort. Comfort. Actually, we are looking for a comfortable situation, and it's quite natural for the soul. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Nishchegonyo Bhavarjuna Nirvambo Nityasadvastu. He says that give up all, abandon all desires for material peace. Transcend the 3 gunas, you know, overcome, you know, go beyond the 3 gunas. So, because looking for a comfortable situation, we don't do sacrifice, we don't do austerity, we don't, you know, we're trying to be comfortable materially, which is not possible. If you maybe noticed, you know, it's not possible. But to be comfortable, the only place you can be comfortable actually is to be at Krishna's feet. Shamashitaye Padava Palava Plavam. Krishna says that, and the Bhagavatam says that Krishna's feet, lotus feet, they are like a boat. It can take you across this ocean of difficulties and suffering. And once you are on this boat, the greatest ocean, it's like a small puddle of water in a half-roof spring. So looking nityasta. Nityasta, Krishna says to Arjuna, Ilvando nitya sadvasta. You have to remain fixed in something eternal, not something temporary. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said there's only 3 things which are eternal in this world. Can you mention them maybe? 3 things only eternal in this world. Yes?
Krishna, the soul, and devotional service.
Yeah, I heard the holy name. But you heard the devotional service? Okay, so it's more, anyway, devotional service is an expansion of the holy name. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says the Jiva, Krishna, and the holy name. These are the only 3 things which are eternal in this world. If you look around yours, everything you look around you actually, you can say this when we preach to people, you can say this, look anything around you, and this will be powder after some years, you know, everything. So, if we want to find even this song of Narottam Das Thakur, you know, that you take shelter of Lord Nityananda's lotus feet, because they are not like the rest of the world, you know, like temporary, they are permanent. It's a permanent place. Feeling comfort in the uncomfortable, we say, no? So this is another thing to overcome mediocrity. You have to go out of your comfort zone. So actually the spiritualists, transcendentalists, they welcome difficulties. And sometimes when everything is too easy, they put voluntarily, they put themselves in a situation, challenging situation. That's why I saw the sannyasis, they are moving around all the time, because sometimes you stay in an ashram, eat, sleep, it can become very comfortable, only people who are friendly to you, worshipping you. But if you go in the street or to foreign people, you are nobody. They don't treat you nicely. So, overcome comfort. The third point is overcome pride, because if you are full of it, as they say, there is no most possibility for anything to go in. We say understanding in Sanskrit is avagachati. Avagachati means to go. Ava means down. It's more or less like French, we have a word like this, I think. It goes down. It goes down. But if it's full already inside, or you're full of it, nothing can go in. So Krishna doesn't like his devotees to be proud. That's actually one of the main lessons of the Govardhan pastime. After Indra, I think it's next week, Gopal Swami said next week Indra will offer his prayers. Now he will be raining his storms and the whole week. And he will ask forgiveness from Krishna and offer prayers. And after his prayers, Krishna will tell him, don't worry, Indra, you are my devotee, but go back to your heavenly planet, but don't be humble. Don't become proud again. That's the main thing. Also, because if you are humble, you can listen. You're open to hear, and if you're open to hear, you can progress. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed this example. He went to South India. He was hearing from Ramananda Roy. He could have spoken himself, but he took the humble position. Prabhupada, sometime I heard a devotee told the story. We're not so much aware, but sometimes Prabhupada imagine, you're in the temple room and Prabhupada tells you, give the class. And he sits in front of you. Did you know that Prabhupada did this few times? Yeah. He was training his devotees. And one devotee tells actually his memories that it was in Krishna Bharam Mandir. Actually, the Krishna Bharam Mandir was under construction, so they were sitting outside on the ground. And Prabhupada said, this morning you give the class. Prabhupada sat in front of him with the devotees. And the devotee was not prepared, he said he mumbled, fumbled, and his class was going all over the place, and he was feeling really terribly bad, but when he finished the class, Prabhupada stood up, Prabhupada stood up and embraced him. He said, thank you very much. See? But Prabhupada was training, and that's actually why also Prabhupada has so much success, maybe, compared to his other God brothers. Prabhupada was ready to train people. To train people, you need lots of qualities. You need patience, tolerance. You need compassion. The most important thing is, first of all, compassion. As they say, for me, it's a mantra for preaching. They don't care how much you know; they know how much you care, isn't it? Sometimes we want to impress people, but if we have not the right motive, they don't care. They can feel, that you're showing off, and you don't care for them, but they know how much you care. Of course, if you know and you care, it's even better. You can lead them, if you have knowledge. But Prabhupada was very patient. He was training people who had no idea of any basic, anything. One time a devotee was. Prabhupada asked him to stamp some letters, envelopes, and he studied, what we do in the West, we take the stamps, and I think these stamps actually are really chemical or something. Anyway, it's dirty with the tongue, and Prabhupada saw him, he said, what you doing? It's so muchy, stop this, take a bowl, take a sponge, and you put the stamp on it, and then so the devotee, okay, he did it, But then, and Prabhupada left the room, and then the last stamp, you know, there was no more water. So I said, anyway, let's go back to the old habits, you know. And of course, the door opened, Prabhupada came in, you know, and he said, what are you doing? You never learn, you know. So Prabhupada was very patient, you know. Okay, the last 2 points, because it's time. We have to overcome fear of public opinion. Actually, some people mistake Prabhupada's boldness for pride. But actually, if you think about it, you know, to speak about, you know, women's right, as he spoke, you know, in the West, or anything, you know, he was very humble, because actually, if you speak like this, you're not appreciated at all. So his boldness, not, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would often make this point that if you speak if you want to preach the absolute truth, you should be humble. Because if you speak the absolute truth, you will not be appreciated by everyone in this world. So Prabhupada he had no fear of public opinion. And the last point is you have to overcome procrastination. I'll do it later. I'll do it later. It will come one day, but you know, and there is one kind of not so good disciple. He's called the Jyotish disciple. He said, I will do it when the stars will be aligned in the right, you know? And this will come maybe once in a kalpa, you know. I will do it, you know. So the time is already ideal. There is no ideal time, no perfect time. We have to, you know, work towards it immediately. So these were the 5 points. Anyway, it's time, I think, now. Any point before we end up?
You talked about the Star brothers.
Yeah.
When Bon Maharaj came back from his attempt to preach in the West, Bhaktisiddhanta wouldn't see him. He called him Bon Asura.
Really? Wow.
Because he stole the money. He was supposed to buy a temple building, and he took the money.
Okay.
So they didn't all do it, but he called him Bon Asura.
I also heard the story that when these god brothers, he had 2 god brothers who went also to England, when they came back, there was a big reception. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and many people attended this reception, of course. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you know, was speaking. It was told by one of the devotees who was present at that time. He said, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that this was not accomplished, the preaching in the West, but someday somebody will do it, you know. And this devotee was seeing that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was really gazing at somebody, you know, and behind him, you know, and he turned back, you know, and he saw Abai Babu, you know. He was a Grihastha. We did it. Yes. Yeah. We should not judge. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samapita Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.